what can you say? I'm a little bit geeked out. And again, remember, I'm about 10 years younger than him, but I've been watching him since I was 4.
Probably 20 years younger.
We're here at the R1 Training Center here in El Segundo, California. Rick, I got to ask you, obviously your retirement was a big deal. I mean, for
Thank you.
even people that didn't really pay attention to pro wrestling in the last 10 years or so, when Ric Flair retired, it became, my dad was calling me from Mexico where he lives. I was like, look, you see this Ric Flair retirement thing. I'm like, Dad, I'm in the middle of watching it right now. Are you kidding me?
Thank you very much.
What?
Appreciate it.
Let's go back a little. Let's go back to your amateur wrestling background. I know you have a big love for amateur wrestling. How did you get started?
Well, I started amateur wrestling, I guess, in the 7th grade in Minnesota, and then I ended up going to a boarding school for high school, and I wrestled in a private school complex, Wayland Academy in Wisconsin. I was 3-time state champion there.
How influential was that into you becoming a professional wrestler yourself? The amateur wrestling helped that push, or something else?
It really was, because I wasn't that good. My youngest son has been able to beat me since he was 16 years old, which I'm embarrassed to say on camera. So I wasn't really that good. You have to remember that was got that 40 years ago. That was high school. So that was good for a high school wrestler back then. But the changes and of course the Dan Gable era made an awareness of pro wrestling, and of course it's just growing and growing and growing. And the programs have gotten bigger. With Title IX has hurt some of the college programs, but the ones that are still wide open, the Penn States and Oklahoma State, schools like that, and out here in California, there's a lot of good schools. Amateur wrestling, I think to me, it's the greatest sport for building self-confidence, and it's going to be really helpful for my son. I mean, the self-confidence is not his problem. It's just being young and being impressionable and stuff like that.
And that's my next question I want to get to is Brock Lesnar. That's the big story of the month, really. I mean, a guy that's really only had 3 fights. He's basically 2-1. Got devastated. Was beating Frank Mir at the time, but then rolls over and gets submitted very easily. Takes one of my better friends, a guy that I went to college with, Randy Couture, and basically beats him up over a round and a half to the point where Randy couldn't even defend himself if he wanted to. Of course, getting that clip behind the ear. Did you see something like that in Brock when he was wrestling with WWE? Did you see that kind of feeling? You knew that he was going to be great no matter what he did?
Well, with Brock would have been a great professional. He was good. He would have been great if he had stayed with it. But the travel is really hard, and it takes a special kind of person, regardless of skill and ability, to be in our business because of the travel commitments and because of the time commitments. And he's a Kurt Angle kind of athlete that comes along once in a lifetime. So Brock to make that transition and do as well. But 100 guys in our business talk about doing it. Only Brock has done. It's kind of like Kurt Angle. I've always wished, that Kurt could, prior to his neck injury, could have gotten into UFC, because Kurt would have been really good at it too. Probably Kurt could hold his own right now without a lot of training. He's that tough a guy.
You retired, you're officially retired, and we know how sometimes in professional wrestling, retirement's really not the retirement. This one is what I was told off camera. He swore to me, he's retired, you're done.
I could never, that was such a special moment. You saw how proud of what Shawn Michaels came after the match, and I just couldn't go back in the ring after a retirement like that. It wouldn't be fair to WWE. I'm not going to say I don't miss it. It wouldn't be fair to Shawn Michaels, and it really would be fair to myself, because I'd never get that kind of send off again. I don't know if anybody ever will. I've been really fortunate, right place, right time, but I worked hard for 35 years, and it paid off.
Well, part of the reason why you got such a big send-off is that you're one of the guys that, like I said, when I was 4 or 5 years old, I was watching you wrestle. But also, too, you're one of the guys that lived through. You lived through. There were so many great guys that passed away due to either drug abuse or accidents in the ring, and just different stuff. And how were you able to survive for such a long time in such a demanding sport?
And basically injury-free. It's a miracle. It's a gift that God gave me, and it's not because I've treated myself. I've abused myself a little bit too. Not with drugs, but I've certainly had a good time. But that goes hand in hand with the business. I couldn't have been successful at wrestling if I didn't enjoy the perks that went with it in the nightlife. I'm respectful of what the business gave me. I have nothing bad to say about anybody or anything that ever happened in business. I love it, and I'm really proud of where the business is going on.
Now, what else is the future going to hold for you? What are you going to do now?
I'm just doing personal appearances, and I'm hoping to become a spokesperson for Walmart and Coca-Cola. I shot a pilot for a reality show. So my youngest son, he and I live together, so we have a lot going on. Life is good.
Yeah,
Thank
good
you.
All respect. Ladies and gentlemen, Ric Flair.
Thank you.
Train smart with Triggonomics brand hardware.